So as we start off with Saints at Rams, Mo, any initial thoughts there on Thursday night?
Not too much on this one. Maybe a lean to the Saints, I would say, but have to monitor what their pass catching core is going to look like here. Obviously, this past weekend, Chris Olave ended up being kind of a late-ish scratch. I think he was like, maybe they started talking about him maybe being out on like Friday or Saturday, ended up missing the game. And they had another like pretty ugly, like, if you just look at the way their pass catching distribution ended up, it just never gives you confidence when a running back is the leading receiver, right? Alvin Kamara, leading receiver. Obviously, Kamara is a talented receiver, but still, you just don't want a running back to be the top target on the team ever. So I think they really do need Olave back. Spreading out the targets quite a bit in that game. Throwing to some guys that you just don't ever want to be throwing to in a serious game. I mean, rolled over the Giants, but that's the Giants on the road. So I've been on the Rams. You know this. I've been on the Rams 3-4 weeks in a row, whatever it is. I just keep pounding the Rams, and they just keep coming through for me. I'm wondering if this is maybe the spot to get off it. I mean, reduced home field advantage, obviously. And if the Saints play a solid, coherent football game, which is far from a given with the Saints, needless to say, I'm not sure there's multiple points between these teams. They had an ugly injury report in the middle of last week. I think some of those guys ended up playing, so short week probably hurts them a little bit. But I'm looking at the Saints, but I don't know yet. Anytime the opposing team doesn't put pressure on the passer, I think the Rams should have success on offense. So maybe an over could be in play here as well, but it's two teams that just kind of seem to scuffle a lot in the red zone, even though the stats are telling me the Rams are good in the red zone. But multiple weeks in a row now when I've had the Rams, some frustrating fizzle outs, deep in opposing territory. Kicked a field goal after they drove to the 4 on Washington, 1st and goal this week. And then obviously a couple failures against the Ravens, that may have cost them that game. Yeah, maybe Saints, maybe over, but have to see how things develop on the injury report this week.
Yeah, New Orleans defensively only allowed 3.2 yards per play to the Giants in Week 15. But as you mentioned with injuries, it's not just for the Saints at receiver. Marcus May, Marshawn Lattimore, both expected to be out, I believe, and already ruled out considering injured reserve. And then for the Rams at corner, Witherspoon, their number 2 cornerback, sustained a groin injury against the Rams. So his status questionable, especially on a short week. But going back to the Rams offense, since Matt Stafford returned against Seattle in Week 11, they ranked top 6 in both EPA per dropback and passing success rate. And then you factor in Kyron Williams, came back the following week against the Cardinals. So, yeah, on a short week, I don't trust the Saints defense with all those injuries, especially in the secondary. Maybe the Rams offense gets right in the red zone. I go back to the odds to make the playoffs that I mentioned last week before the Rams and Commanders game that you cashed in on LA at. I think the path is there for the Rams at this point. I think they have one of the wild card spots. We'll see. Well, they have the upper hand on Seattle, even if Seattle, as we're recording this on Monday night, doesn't beat the Eagles. Or if they do beat the Eagles, Rams still have the edge there in the wild card race. But yeah, this is Rams or pass for me, just with the Saints' defensive injuries, especially in the secondary. And like you mentioned, they can't get after the passer. So their market rating may be honestly a little bit inflated, at least what it was on the opener. I think this opened at a flat 3, so at the key number of a field goal after they trucked the Giants. But you go from facing Tommy DeVito, even though he had some Italian magic on Monday night against the Packers a couple weeks ago, to now facing this Rams offense, this version of the Rams offense. Again, stay away or bet the Rams, but probably stay away from me either way.